So what I'm mixing here is our Quick Set Epoxy. It's part 1A and part B. Mix them together, and what we're going to do is a seal coat on this table here. We're going to put a very light coat on it, let this cure, and then we'll be able to do our flood coat. This coat's very important to minimize bubbles and any sort of imperfections. So that's why we do this before doing our flood coat. Our Quick Set Epoxy has a fairly quick pot life, say about 10 to 12 minutes, so you want to work pretty quickly when you use this product. The good side is that it's going to cure in about 2 hours, so if you wanted to do it first thing in the morning and then later on in the afternoon, you can actually do your tabletop coat. So you're able to actually do some stuff multiple times a day rather than waiting the 24 hours that you typically do in between coats. So now I'm just going to pour this over here. It's going to be very similar that if you've done a flood coat before, but you're going to use a very thin side. We're going to use the flat side of this trowel here so that I get a very thin coat. Again, the goal of this is to help protect the wood, keep air bubbles from coming out in my subsequent coats. So I'm going to save myself from having to do extra work later on. So this table is one that we have done previously. We have some videos about the making of this, but we actually used our WiseShift color pigments. We have a red here and a blue here, and then we created a dam down the middle. Let the epoxy set up and then pull the dam so that they decide to merge a little bit, but they don't totally muddy each other up. And so that's how we were able to get the kind of fire and ice effect with a little bit of mixture in the middle, but not too much. So when doing a seal coat, it's very important to get the wood, as the wood's going to be much more porous than this epoxy. You're not necessarily going to get air bubbles coming from the epoxy, but you're going to get it from this wood. Now I'm trying to cover it evenly, but if you really want to focus on the wood, the wood is covered, I'm going to start pushing some of this extra off the edge. I'm going to start coating some of the edges here. You don't want to have any sort of extra on here. You're not doing a flood coat here. You're really just coating the wood very thinly. I have a little extra epoxy on here. I probably could have mixed a little bit less, but it's better than not having enough. This is our Quick Set Epoxy. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's designed for sealing live edges, doing seal coats here. The benefits are that it gets set up in about 2 hours, so you're able to continuously work on it. You don't have to wait for it to set up like a traditional tabletop epoxy. But the turn side is the pot life is going to be about 10 minutes, so you better work very quickly. So while I'm using Quick Set Epoxy with this, another viable application is the Tabletop Epoxy. You can do this, you would apply it the exact same way, a very thin coat. You're going to get more of a pot life, so you have more time to do it. So if you're doing a large bar top or something that's going to require more epoxy to cover, that may be your best bet. Now the downside is you're going to have to wait about 18 to 24 hours for this to set up. You want it to get hardened before you do your next coat. So you will have to wait a little bit longer for it. So now I'm just trying to get rid of all the excess here. And again, if you have little marks, you have little imperfections throughout this, it's not a huge deal as there's going to be another coat, but you do want to get it as level as possible just to save yourself potential work. So another question that we usually get when it comes to sealing the wood is how many coats are required, and really it depends on the type of wood that you're using, how porous it's going to be, you know, the condition of the wood. So in this particular pour, we're really only going to need one coat. This stuff's pretty dense, and as you can see, it's coating really well. It's kind of have a glossy look already. But there are some woods that are much more porous that seem to soak this stuff up. And if you notice that, you're going to want to put another coat. You may need multiple coats. So I'm using the flat edge of our notch trowel, the Wise notch trowel. When we do the flow coat, we're actually going to use the opposite end here. These are 1/4 inch trowels here. They're going to give an 1/8 inch flood coat. We'll explain that more in our tabletop video, but using the flat side here is perfect for this. So it's a multi-use tool, fantastic, it's available on our website. So as you can see, I've coated this wood in a thin aspect, and what we're doing, we sealed this wood, we've sealed up the epoxy, we've sealed up the edges. Now once this sets up in about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, we're going to do a flood coat, and that flood coat is going to bond seamlessly with this epoxy. It's going to be totally seamless. You're not even going to see the seal coat at all. And that's the beauty of it, and it works for any of our epoxies. This deep pour epoxy is going to bond seamlessly with this quick set, and then it's going to bond seamlessly with our tabletop epoxy here. And you're going to have a really beautiful high gloss piece at the end of this. And as you can see some of our color shifting pigments depending on how the camera picks up. You got the blue kind of turning into the red, and we got the red with a little bit of purple in here. It's a really fantastic piece. I'm very excited to see how this finally turns out. So now we're going to let this set. So, you know, I'm glad that you joined this video. Feel free to look at our other videos on WiseBond.com. We have all of our products, accessories, plenty of documentation on how to do this, anywhere from pros to rookies. And then we're here to answer any questions you have along the way. So please feel free to reach out to us. You can hit us up on our chat. You can give us a call. We're here Monday through Friday. So thank you again. Bye, Dad.